Welcome. Today is Thursday, 29th of January, and welcome to KCP Community Meeting. KCP Community Meeting is gathered by CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down, let's be excellent to each other. So I think most of us already know each other, so maybe let's skip the introduction part. I'm gonna repost the agenda document in the chat, so feel free to add yourselves. And the meeting is being recorded and transcribed, so people can check the notes without watching the recording if they choose to. We have few items on the agenda. Let me share a screen. If you have something else, feel free to add it. And for mine, I will move my first one to the next one, because that in particular, we had a discussion with Christoph about KCP operator and how we do bundles. Bundles is how do we install shards which are located on different cluster where the operator lives when you have a distributed deployment. So there were some concerns in the initial PR, so I think I want more people on the call to discuss it. And because it's not on a critical path, we can move it to the next one. So yeah, if people are interested in that, in the what it's about, I can paste a PR. So you can check it out for the next week too. Cool, Marco, next one's yours too.
Yes, I will start with the first one. So for some intro about this topic, I'm working on a custom virtual workspace. Some of you probably know about this. And this is like the partitioned, okay, not partitioned, but filtered version of the API export virtual workspace. Now I want to push it. And I am wondering what's the best place to do that. We had some initial idea to use the contrib repo, but given the fact that we have a lot of stuff there, I am not super happy about idea. So I was thinking if it is okay to use like a dedicated repo, and because it's going to make versioning easier and a lot other bunch of things. So how should we do that? Do we like want to create new repos in KCP dev for that? Or do we want to consider some other organization? How should that work?
Personally, I think it makes the most sense in KCP dev as its own repo. And then on the one hand, it's a filtered virtual workspace, but also to have it as kind of like an example on how to implement custom virtual workspaces that live outside of KCP. I think we already have one of those, but I'm not sure how up to date that is. So I agree. KCP dev separate repo makes it a lot more easy overall.
Yeah, I'm on a fence here. I will check what other decides, just because I'm very pro mono repos, and I find it's many repos harder and harder to maintain when it comes to dependencies. But we can always consolidate. That's not a issue if we go too far.
I mean, dependencies can be automated to some degree. If you have tests and then you just configure renovate or go this GitHub Dependabot thing, it's not impossible to have this done semi-automatically, as long as there's nothing breaking. I think monorepo makes sense for components that more or less depend on each other, and where if you make changes to one thing, you will also have to make changes in the other thing. That makes sense, but stuff like an external virtual workspace, which should work by design and does work by design externally, I think would make more sense out of the monorepo.
So the only ask is, and maybe question more than an ask is, are we okay to prefix it with a contrib? Because it would be like not a full part of core, but the best effort to maintain it, most example. Or we want to make it same as a like API sync agent or operator part of the core.
I had the same question, and I think that prefixing with contrib is actually a good idea.
Okay, so that's. And if we see that it's getting evolved and gets live on its own, we can always create a GitHub alias and rename it. I said I don't see this as a big groundbreaking decision. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Only one more question that I have. MJ, do you have permissions to create repos?
Again, good question. I need to check it out. Yes, I do. So just ping me the repo name and I can create it after that.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
I guess we can go to the next topic.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, do we have any release plans? Because I think this topic has been like getting mentioned there and there in some places. So I wanted to see like, do we have some idea when do we want to do that? Because I think we finished one Kubernetes rebase. Not sure if we are still behind, but like, should we plan anything soon? Do we want to plan like maybe some alpha or beta release in the meanwhile, like on a very short term, maybe next week or so? Any ideas?
So we've been chatting with this, especially me and Nilo. So I think the plan was to cut it a bit sooner, but we had this one interesting bug this beginning of the week, which is now fixed in the main. But another one was that we wanted to get the latest rebase, like patch rebase. So I'm not sure. Did you get a chance to move forward with that, Nilo? Because I know you're doing this one, or
I wouldn't do it in a point release. In a release, I would wait until we did the next. So after 0.30, we should do the next rebase. Not right now, I would say.
okay. So I think I'm kind of on a similar boat.
No, the only thing when I looked at the last rebase, I noticed something that where we could simplify the changes, so align with the changes from upstream, so that the next rebase might be easier. We could have a look at that and see if we want to merge that beforehand. It's mostly the third-party stuff in API machinery in client Go.
I think we do that after rebase.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I think the question would be, do we want to merge anything before we cut the release? Like, is there any outstanding items needed merging?
I faintly remember that there was some task where we said, I don't know, I don't remember if that was, I think that was the documentation for the rebase, but that is not a blocker.
No. Okay. Let's kick off, I think, thread in Slack today. I'm gonna kick it off. If people don't paste any burning issues we want to merge in, we can plan a release cutting early next week, Monday, Tuesday.
Would we go like directly with 0.30, or do we want to do some RC or something like that?
The question is, do we have anybody who will want and will be willing to test the RC candidates? Because if there is nobody, we can just go directly. And if there is an issue, we cherry pick patches.
Yeah, I guess it will be more for the sake of testing the release process rather than anyone testing KCP. So, no strong opinions.
Yeah, so I think we can go directly to the new one.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah. Anything else on this one?
Not from my side.
Cool, cool. Ola. Next one is yours.
Oh, yeah. So the issue here is that so I think the map methods are actually not as complete from my understanding, right? So it is missing out on some key methods which would actually need to be able to properly register the controller, right? Yeah. So I actually dropped some comments in the PR.
Yeah, I'm just. Where are those? Okay, so
So I mean, I was unable to properly register the controller because it was missing some methods from the I think the Go client package or something.
interesting. Which one? The next one. I love GitHub and it doesn't load the issues. So which one is the next one? Yeah, you might need just to comment in the PR itself because the link itself is not.
Okay.
Yeah, just a known issue. GitHub likes very much how it resolves the links.
Okay.
So is that is this a problem of a current Kubernetes version or it is fixed in a 135?
Yeah, the 135 is actually the latest release, right? So yeah, but if you compare it with the one for VAP, VAP has more methods than what's it called, map, right? So it feels like maybe the map is still in development or something, right? And also there is actually this part where so if you go,
Do you want to share your screen or tell me where to go?
okay. Let me share my screen.
Let me see if, do you have access to do that or need to grant it?
I'm not sure I'm able to share screen. Okay, that's it.
Is it working?
Yes. Can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yep.
So yeah, there's this compile policy. I'm trying to zoom in.
Yeah, a bit.
Is it too much? Yeah.
No, it's fine. For me, at least.
Okay. So there's this compile policy method that I had to basically just copy and paste from inside of the Go client package because it wasn't exposed. So when you check the VAP, it's actually exported as a it's actually exported, right? But in the map, it is not. So I had to kind of recreate it to be able to not sure why. Yeah, to be able to use it in the, I'll pass it to the new generic policy, right? Also, there are these informers, right? I'm not supposed to actually call these informers this way. It's supposed to, so when you call the new policy, it's supposed to initialize and run the new informers. But inside of, so when I check inside of the new policy, it doesn't call the run package. I mean the run functions rather. So it doesn't call them. So I mean that's why I feel like maybe this method, this implementation is not done. Also, there's this plugin that's set enabled. So by default, the plugin is actually not enabled. So you actually need to kind of enable it by default. I mean, you need to actually enable it for you to even be able to like use the function. I mean, to be able to what's the word? Basically, be able to use the mutating the policy hook, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like the key things, right? And also when you check, so this is the mutating policy method. So as you can see, it is very few, right? So I think it's this policy hook. Yeah. So as you can see, it's very few compared to validating hook that has like a lot of methods, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of feel this is not actually done, or it's not like pretty much ready for usage, right? Maybe we should wait till the next release and see what happens. I don't know.
So yeah, it's interesting. I think it's, what's the state of? Yeah, it's beta in 134, so it's currently. So once we land 135, we can see what's in there and try again, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
And maybe we take it from there, or basically defer it until a bit later. Like reality is like if we need to upstream some changes to, in this case, we can try.
Okay. I was actually
But
thinking.
yeah, it really depends on what changes and where.
Yeah, and I think the another most important one is when registering the controller. Where is it? Yeah, so when you try to register the controller, so you can't actually do that because it doesn't expose a new controller constructor, which I think you need. Because I was following the pattern used for PAP, right? And actually the controller registration as well, right? So but it was missing some methods, right? So it was actually unable to register the controller. Yeah. Yeah, and then this server is just basically, it's supposed to just return the controller, which is this. But yeah.
Did you check what's the state in 135 for this? Like what's the Nqube itself?
No, I didn't.
Okay, it's fine. So I think we can basically.
But you mean for mutating admission policy, like the state or the
in general, like methods exposed and what's missing.
Oh, method exposed. Yeah, for method exposed, the new controller is not there. It's not there. This is it. This is for 1035. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I think we need to do a bit more research to find out what's the explicit reason Upstream didn't do it in the same way, like validating. At this point, I think I'm missing the background, but yeah, we can basically defer it for a bit later.
Okay.
So yeah.
I mean, I've actually pretty much forgotten like a number of things because it's been a while I worked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all now.
Cool. Okay. Christoph, I see you join. So are you here full time or just listening in your offsite?
I'm at home. I'm listening in full time.
So
Ola, I had one question. Could you reshare your screen?
Okay.
Regarding your GitHub comments, I was just having a suspicion that you didn't submit your review, and that's why they're not there. Can you open the PR and show me what happens if you click on that green submit review button? Are there comments queued up? Sorry, that has nothing to do with the topic at hand, but I was just still hung up on those GitHub comments are not visible thing.
no, I think it's not a GitHub comments, but the code comments itself. And
Okay.
URLs are just, the GitHub sometimes just doesn't redirect you to the right line of code.
Sure. It's just for me, I only see the text submit review if I have some comments that I haven't submitted yet. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's the new PR experience that changes the text.
Oh yeah, I went back to the old one, the new one.
The old one works. The new one often breaks.
Okay, thank you.
So another one which I wanted to discuss, and originally in the start of the meeting we deferred because you were not there, Christoph. Are you okay to discuss configuration bundles now, PR, or we can defer it for the next meeting?
No, we can try. I mean, we have the time left.
So you had some.
I didn't get through the entire PR. I got stuck when I was actually trying to understand how this bundling integrates in the reconciling flow.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I was not able to review. So, yeah.
So maybe first of all, what this for Abbas2, what this trying to solve? So we one of the things we're trying to implement and we're trying to document it in the setup is production deployment patterns, basically, how one can deploy KCP and in a different architectures. And originally, one of the goals for KCP is that one should be able to deploy KCP across the globe, meaning few shards are in Europe, few shards are in States. We can share or have our own dedicated front proxies. There are some cache servers in between. But ideally, one should be able to replicate what big cloud providers have, their control planes, where data centers, regions have their own part of deployments, which are part of big control plane, like a global world-spanning control plane. And KCP supports this, but not in a way that it's easy to deploy. You can do that with the Helm charts now, but the challenge is distributing the certificates and trust data like CAs, signed certificates, and things like that. So this PR originally was MVP, and I kind of moved it to semi-ready, but again, it can be, depends what we want to do that. So idea behind that was that if you annotate the objects, I'm looking for the function where the list is. If you annotate the object of shard or front proxy, the CRD, it will create a dedicated CR object to track the bundle, basically. And it will snapshot all the required resources from that one cluster. So like client certs, cluster admins, basically everything what you need to run the shard outside the cluster where the KCP operator is. And by default, what it does, and that's again up for discussion, it generates all the assets in the cluster where the operator lives, but forces to scale down deployment in the same cluster. So deployment still exists in the cluster where the operator is, but it's always forced down to scale, which is not ideal. Hence, everything here is behind feature flag. But the idea was, once you have two shards bundle produced, you can take the secret
The video free is.
I think MJ froze.
Okay. So he will probably rejoin in a moment. Personally, I'm not super happy yet with that approach. I think it's a bit dangerous to have deployments that are scaled to zero. What happens if you accidentally scale them up? I wonder if monitoring tools will flag this as a problem.
I
Probably
have
not.
to say, I don't like that either. I like the bundles per se, that you just create a secret and that's everything that you need to deploy it somewhere else. The deployment scale to zero, I don't like either. I agree.
Yeah, sorry, I lost power at home apparently.
Yes, MJ, or otherwise we'll just repeat.
I didn't hear what you said before because I lost the power. So
So personally, I'm not super happy with having all the resources that are technically not needed on the, let's call it the roots cluster, and just scale to zero. I like the concept in general, but yeah, having the resources there feels kind of wrong to me and confusing, because then you suddenly have them in two places, on the correct cluster and on the fake cluster.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't really get to the reconciling. My initial idea was, can we somehow have in the reconciling part where we create all those resources, instead of using an actual client, use like a fake client that just records the objects that would be written during reconciliation, and then once it's done, dump all that in a bundle somehow.
So I
That was-
tried to do that. Honestly, from the implementation point of view, it was very ugly. It's like it's this way. It's maybe we can have some middle ground where we say, okay, we write secrets, we write config maps, but we don't write deployments which actually run the stuff. So there is no risk of somebody scaling up the stuff. So
How
it
do you-
basically becomes a metadata store.
How do you enable bundling for a shard? How does it work for the administrator? Do we
Currently,
create a shard object and set an annotation? Do we create a bundle object? What
for now it's annotation because I didn't want to have it in API. In the future, I suspect it would be a spec field, explicit field that is like bundle true, which means it doesn't run it, but just generates assets. It's like I follow the Kubernetes pattern where you basically added anything what you're not sure added annotation first, and after
Sure.
that promote it to.
Sure, but the point is then your bundle requires resources that the shard doesn't own, but that the root shard owns, I guess. So having a fake client in the shard controller only is annoying because then you only collect the shard stuff, not the root shard stuff. So I
It's
see why this approach would kind of be ugly without more restructuring.
plus it has like lists. You have this, there is a number of secrets you need. Like some of them are example, in a shard example, you need front proxy objects, you need root shard objects, you need CA from maybe Let's Encrypt or something else. This means your fake client needs to have this full list of and filter out like, oh, there is a write request happening. Should they write it or should they fake it? And after that, reconciliation doesn't even. Yeah, it's just originally I did it like that, what we discussed to the client. And it got so complicated in a state management, which objects are real, which are fake. I just said, okay,
Yeah.
just have objects. Maybe don't have a deployment, and treat this thing like one could have a very small metadata cluster where none of the objects are running, and you just sync everything out to some other clusters, and it's basically a metadata store.
I was also wondering, maybe instead of annotating the shard, should you create a new CRD, like a shard bundle, and refactor the KCP operator so much that every little bit of reconciling code is reusable on multiple controllers? And then a shard bundle controller could just pick all the reconciler functions it needs to build up all the state it needs. But that's a lot of refactoring.
And
Yeah.
I will be honest, I went one of the quicker ways to do that, like separate objects and that. So, hence the feature flag, because I'm not sure if it's the right state for now or not. I would like somebody really to try it in a production. Originally, this came from our from Platform Mesh, but Platform Mesh folks, they kind of deprioritized this multi-location effort. So work was done, priorities changed.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we can go with this annotation, with the current approach first. I had one more comment in general. Nilo, or anyone else have anything else regarding those resources?
Not at the moment, no.
So my other question was the bundle applier, this tiny controller basically that runs on the target system and simply reads the secret and applies it.
I want to move it to hacks. I don't think that's gonna be the way to apply it.
Exactly. That's what I was wondering. If we are going the automation route, how can this be integrated if you already have a solution? I don't know, Argo CD or Flux that manages
Yeah.
your clusters and resources. the crazy, stupid idea, the other extreme to just creating a secret is to somehow spit out a Helm chart or an OCI artifact or something, and just be, taken with Flux or whatever. I don't know what Flux can do. I'm sorry, I've never used it, what the capabilities are there. But the only thing in general we would lose is having like custom logic for applying a bundle. Something that
Well,
bundle could have at the moment. Probably doesn't.
From what I remember when we talked about this secret applier thing, that it should just be something that people can use to test it out before starting to build their own full automation with their actual deployment tool. But yeah, they should use whatever they use to deploy monitor resources. So it's really just this is how you do it if you want to use it.
Can Argo CD/Flux or any other of these tools, is there a standard for wrapping up Kubernetes objects in a secret that is then compatible with Flux?
I don't know, to be honest.
Me neither, but it would be nice if we could already look ahead and make the secret so it's easily ingestible by these other tools. If that's easy to do. I don't know, again.
Yes, so that's... I think this out of scope for now for this, to be honest. But that's the goal, basically. Whatever we settle down in the end should be like Argo CD or Flux compatible. Or we do a very slim tool to extract it to some Argo CD or whatever compatible. So what I do, that applier stuff, I'm gonna move it to Hacks because that was only for my development and somebody to make it easier. I think it creates a fake perception of stability while being in CMD folder.
And lastly, I was wondering if you're creating a secret, if we should push that secret somewhere, if that's convenient. Should we plan ahead that the bundle can be not just created in the local cluster, but also...
Yeah. Because that...
Personally, I think that already goes too much into the area of, well, why don't you just apply it, give us the option to apply it to another cluster if you already can push the secret somewhere and so on.
That would be really nice. I would vacuum that I can just tell the operator, here's the kube config to the other clusters, have fun.
I don't know. I feel like that would be
bugs. Yeah, sure.
The thing is, if you start that kind of thing, it's like with Crow and Crow likes that people start, oh, now I want this on top and now I want this on top. It's once you start adding a very advanced, I would say, feature like that, people will start asking for more complicated stuff. And if we just say, hey, we are creating the secret, it's your job afterwards to take care of everything else, then they will just accept that and just wire that into their infrastructure. If we start with, give us a kube config and we will manage your clusters for you, we will just be, sir, you've built another Argo CD, basically, is my 2 cents. I think we should, if we want this in the future, we can still do this. But I think at the very least, at the start, we should keep the scope as small as possible, and as small as possible as we just create a secret and let the end user deal with the rest. My 2 cents.
So we're also not cryptographically signing the secret. That was just a joke. Okay, yeah, I can see that opens doors, but personally, I would tend towards having some convenience in the operator and making that possible, but not today. But again, if we use a client to record the objects that we need, then we can just again use a completely different fake client. All neatly fit together. Maybe.
I think I would like to try like more startup approach. We ship it out behind the feature flag. If somebody starts using it, gives us feedback, we can iterate. Else, it might sit there in a current state for next year or two until people grow up into this multi-region deployment pattern. Because
Yeah.
what we've seen is we know the value of it, but not many people outside this community sees that and knows this yet, and it just needs some natural growing into. And I just don't want to over-engineer it, to be honest.
The external shards, do they have to talk to the root shard? Yeah, right? Yeah, they have to register themselves.
Yes,
Well, they
but
go
that's
through a different route because the shard URLs are public. The clusters are not necessarily public.
That's true, but we could put the secret into the root shard, and then when the shard registers itself. No, that's no, sorry. Forget everything. Chicken egg problem. I'm getting
So-
carried away. You're right, Nilo. Opening doors is bad for people.
Mm.
but don't drill firewalls.
Yeah, forget everything I said.
So, do you want anything changed, like critically changed in that PR, or are we good to go with what it is now, current shape?
Can you give me one more day to finish the review?
Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, in general, if we agree that the approach is sane for now, we
It's
just
certainly not
continue as
putting any
normal.
borders in our path.
Yeah.
So we still have all doors open after this, so
Cool.
it's not
So-
introducing new architecture.
Okay, if we're done with this, I know we had the issue triage on the agenda, but I think we're getting close to the end of the hour, and I will gonna just move it to open floor. Do we have any open floor other questions? Discussions? Sorry, I'm operating a bit in a disaster mode now, so.
So I was recently, this might go to profit anyway. I was working on the init agent, and the init agent at the moment uses the virtual workspace for the initializing workspaces. That means it gets one long slice of URLs that it can work with, because there is no workspace type endpoint slice or something like that. Now my controller, the init agent, might also need to talk to the API export for the tenancy API. For that, it has API export endpoint slices. How is the controller now meant to be written where it uses two sources of long lists of virtual workspaces, but one might just be a slice of a few? Of course, I will create multiple multi-cluster runtime providers at one time, but I'm wondering about the general deployment of how this could look like at the end. Maybe thought for future.
Yeah, just
It's always easy if you just talk to one virtual workspace. But once you talk to many, it can get dicey, I think.
You mean many that one would be from initializer on the workspace type, and the second one would be
API export.
which one, like
API
normal API export of something?
Yeah, for the tenancy API. I want to fetch the workspace types. So I thought I go to the virtual workspace for the tenancy API.
Do you want to watch the workspace types dynamically and spin up more providers depending on which workspace types are present?
Not at the moment, you're right. Technically don't need a provider yet.
I mean, that would be possible. You just start a provider for the workspace types and then, or do you? At the very least, the multi-provider can dynamically add and remove other providers. So you can definitely watch for workspace types, and then just add new providers per workspace type and remove them when they vanish.
There's a multiple.
Yeah, it's in multi-cluster runtime. It's
Nice.
designed to do basically exactly that, to add and remove providers at runtime.
Perfect, I have to check that out. Yeah, that could always solve maybe my issue to some extent. What's the plan with the workspace URLs for initializing workspaces, virtual workspace? Do we intend to have an endpoint slice for those too at some point? Like for API exports? Or do they stay in the status field for workspace types?
I think it's what we decide here, to be honest. If we see that we need those, I think we just plan and execute.
Okay.
I mean, there was at some point a PR to make also the initializing and terminating virtual workspace URLs distinct, so they are not in the same slice.
I think we have that.
And yeah, that could be done with the endpoint slice as well. We have that.
I
Or is
think
the
we
PR
added
still
the
on?
type field to the URL and type now.
Ah,
But
okay.
I'm not sure. But
I don't remember which KCP version that was, but I remember that I recently worked with that, and there the initializing and terminating was still in the same slice.
Yeah, but it's in the same slice, but each element has a type field now. So you have URL and type for each of them.
Ah, okay. Yeah, then I probably just used an older version of KCP in that.
Stuff here.
Yeah, but having an endpoint slice just to have it match everything else would make sense.
But how is the endpoint slice then to be used? If I really want to slice and dice my controllers, do you want multiple slices, one for each virtual workspace? Or would it make more sense to have one slice object that has the URLs for all the workspaces in it, virtual workspaces in it? Like suppose you want to have technically two areas, like east and west. With the current approach, you need an API export endpoint slice east and API export endpoint slice west. And that for each of your API exports. And then you need to do the same for the initializing workspace, for which we need an endpoint slice, and for the terminating, for which we also need an endpoint slice. So now you have loads of different slices. So should you just have one east, one west slice, and they contain API exports, virtual workspaces, yada, yada, yada. How was the grand vision here with the endpoint slices? What was the idea? Or the intent behind them?
I think the intent was you basically partition them, use partitions and create those based on locations or whatever other logic, positional logic. So I would be leaning towards that we try to reproduce the same, but at the same time, I'm cautious that initializing is a bit different. So you might end up with something like East US initializing workspace endpoint slice, which contains URLs only for East US, basically.
Okay, to put it differently, if we had multiple endpoint slice types, do we think that the slices would always be the same? Like you're separating each set of virtual workspace URLs, basically each set of virtual workspace URLs the same way. Because then you need to replicate this logic in all of the endpoint slices again and again and again.
I don't know from the top of my head.
Okay.
I didn't think about this too much, so I think can try to discuss maybe asynchronous layer.
No.
Basically, yeah, it needs more thinking. Might be the reason why it is how it is now, because people before us came to the same conclusion.
Okay, I yield the floor.
Cool. Any other topics? Going once, going twice. So thank you everybody for joining, and I'm gonna stop recording now.